I was just finishing off the pergola, which, don't worry guys, I'll be featuring in our next vlog, when I saw some Dakotas flying over my house on their way to Duxford and their practice runs for the memorial of the 75th anniversary of D-Day. DC-3, or Douglas Commercial 3, was a culmination of a development effort that began after an inquiry from a certain airline that wanted a slightly wider sleeper aircraft based on the earlier one, the DC-2. Douglas only agreed to go ahead with the development of the aircraft after American Airlines said they'd purchased 20 of them. This photo here gives you a good idea about what the DC-3 airliner cabin was like. If you want to know what it's like to fly one of these airliners in the early 1930s, I highly recommend the book by Ernest K. Gann, Fate is the Hunter. It's brilliant. During World War II, many civilian DC-3s were drafted for the war effort, and just over 10,000 US military versions of the DC-3 were built, under the designations C-47, C-53, R-4D and Dakota. Many were used during the D-Day Normandy landings of June 1944 to drop paratroopers and later supply the front lines. And that's why we've popped back to Duxford, incidentally the place I'm learning to fly, for this celebration and memorial to mark the 75th anniversary of D-Day. So, living life to the max in Duxford at the moment with Mum and Dad. It's Dad's birthday, it was a few days ago, and this is his present. Came a bit late, but there we go. So yeah, we're here now. Bumheads is here as well. Oh yeah, and that's my mum in slow-mo. Yeah, so we're gonna have a walk around. What's going on today is the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings that happened in 1944, June 6th. But the night before those landings, there were huge parachute drops all over Normandy, and what they're doing today is recreating those parachute drops. So, you know, there's loads of kids here, loads of different types of people who are going to be able to see and learn from that. Paratroopers were one of the elite forces in the theatre of war in World War II. Here are some from the 101st American Airborne Division the day before they jumped into D-Day, meeting General Dwight D. Eisenhower, the Supreme Commander of the Allied Expeditionary Forces. The soldiers filmed here would be jumping into occupied Europe in the next 12 hours. The average age of a US paratrooper was between 17 and 21 years old. One can only imagine what was going through their minds as they loaded onto their Dakotas and gliders ready to drop into Normandy that night. On D-Day, the Allied paratroopers had a very important job, which I'd simplify down as taking important roads, bridges and junctions a few miles inland from the main beach landings, therefore disrupting enemy movements, the coordination of enemy counterattacks, and creating a breathing space and a small amount of area for the beachheads to actually disperse and then deploy their main forces. Like any soldier going into combat in D-Day, this was an incredibly dangerous job, complicated by the fact that they were jumping in the middle of the night, many hours before the main beach landings and attack actually started, onto enemy territory, enemy positions, and an unknowing, bewildered French population. The images I've captured for you here were obviously filmed during the day and probably actually from something like Operation Market Garden or a training exercise, but they give you a good idea of how the paratroopers were loaded into the plane and how they actually jumped out over Normandy 75 years ago. Back at Duxford, we were hoping to see a practice parachute display down the runway, but unfortunately we had a 25 knot crosswind and they didn't really want to be blowing paratroopers directly into the crowd. That wouldn't have gone down very well. But regardless of the blustery day, there were loads and loads of people there walking around, taking in the atmosphere, taking in the sound of these amazing engines, but it didn't stop the Dakotas and P-51 Mustangs and Harvards from getting up in the air and giving the crowds of Duxford a great air display. It was a pity that we didn't get to see the paratroopers do their practice jump. The very next day they'd be forming up over Duxford, flying over my house and then down to Normandy to do a parachute drop onto the very same drop zones used by the paratroopers 75 years ago. Thank you for watching today's kind of vlog history bit. I'll be back next week when we complete the pergola. If you haven't done already, please click that subscribe button, hit the like and comment below. Speak to you soon, everybody.